On January 1st, 1892, 17-year-old Irish immigrant Annie Moore becomes the first ever processed on Ellis Island, a federal facility in New York Harbor near the New Jersey shoreline. It kicks off an immigration era that brings more than 12 million immigrants through the nation's first and largest federal immigration processing station. But how and where were immigrants processed before Ellis Island? And what happened to Annie Moore after Ellis Island? Before Ellis Island, immigrants were processed at New York City's Castle Garden, now known as Castle Clinton, in Battery Park. That facility processed more than 8 million immigrants between 1855 and 1890. Interestingly, it's from Castle Clinton that you take the ferry today to go to Ellis Island and the Statue of Liberty. But Castle Garden was state-run, and the federal government realized that it needed to adjust to the increasing waves of immigrants. So it began constructing the facility on Ellis Island and took over immigrant processing in 1890. From 1900 to 1914, Ellis Island was at its peak, processing 1,900 people per day. By the time it closed in 1954, 12 million immigrants had gone through Ellis Island. In fact, 40% of Americans today have at least one ancestor who was processed at Ellis Island. President Lyndon Johnson designated it as part of the National Park System in 1965, and it was opened to the public in 1990 as the nation's primary immigration museum. But what happened to Annie Moore? Well, she sailed from Ireland with her two brothers to reunite with her parents who had already been in America for 4 years. She lived most of her life on Manhattan's Lower East Side, and there are two statues of her, one at Ellis Island and one back in Ireland in the port city of Cobh, to remember the many Irish immigrants who sailed to America. In 2025, Mrs. Lewis and I visited Cobh. It is a picturesque town with a deep connection to its history as the jumping-off point for so many Irish immigrants who came to America. We made sure to snap a photo with the statue of Annie Moore and her brothers. It powerfully illustrates the courage of immigrants who left behind everything they knew for the hope of a better future. But Cobh holds additional significance in maritime history. It was the last port of call for the ill-fated Titanic in 1912. The town's Titanic Experience Museum tells the ship's story and is located in the former White Star Line building. 3 years later, during World War I, a German submarine sank another luxury British ocean liner, the Lusitania, off the Irish coast near Cobh. Boats from the town rescued passengers and recovered bodies of the deceased, many of whom are buried in Cobh's Old Church Cemetery, many of them in mass graves. A moving memorial to the Lusitania is located in the heart of the town. It features an angel hovering over two weary mourning fishermen, who symbolize the tireless efforts of the people of Cobh to rescue the victims of the tragedy. Here are other events that happened today in history. In 45 BC, ancient Rome's Julian calendar takes effect, implementing major reforms including leap years. In 1804, 13 years after a revolt sparked a revolution, Haiti proclaims its independence from France. In 1863, U.S. President Lincoln signs the Emancipation Proclamation, freeing slaves in the states in rebellion. In 1959, the Fidel Castro-led revolution in Cuba forces dictator Fulgencio Batista to flee the island. In 1999, a new era in Europe dawns as 11 nations adopt a single currency called the euro. In 2023, actor Jeremy Renner is seriously injured in a snowplow accident while trying to help a stranded motorist. In 2024, the earliest versions of iconic Disney characters Mickey and Minnie Mouse enter the public domain. And now, it's time for our Today in History quiz. In 1974, U.S. President Richard Nixon signed a federal law limiting all national highway speeds to what? 50 miles per hour, 55 miles per hour, 60 miles per hour, or 65 miles per hour. Liked learning about Ellis Island? Then you'll love this one about the Lusitania. Tap the screen to keep the story going on Today in History.